Hi, and welcome to Screens and Focus podcast, where we share and connect as we spotlight our favorite shows and movies. I'm Diana, and today we are talking about The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, episode 6, the finale. And of course, Renee is back to join me. I'm so happy. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hello. I'm so excited to talk about this episode. It was bittersweet to be the end, but it was, we're excited. We know we have a second season coming.
Exactly. I know. And so before we get to our news, we are going to pose our question. And our question of the day is, should Daryl stay in France or go home?
So I think you should stay. Otherwise, there's no more series.
Good answer.
Yeah. But seriously, Laurent needs him, and I feel like I know Carol needs him too, but I know this little boy doesn't have much of anybody. Carol's got, and Carol herself is a force, right? So, but I think little Laurent, I think he just needs a little more time with Daryl. And, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with Janae. She's like, I feel like something big's coming with her. And, I just feel like that little boy has so much to bear being, they just keep referring to him this Messiah. He's special. He's this. And Daryl kind of balances that, and he can, keep him more grounded in things like that to deal with all this that they expect of him, whatever it is that they expect. So, it's excited to see that, he's right. The boat's right there. But I think he should stay.
This is a hard question because I think for Daryl staying, I agree with you about Laurent, but I also am worried about Janae. And I find it interesting that he's leaving not knowing, although you get to the nest and it's, which we're going to talk about later because, oh my gosh, such an impressive place that I want to visit so bad.
Yeah.
But it's just so, I don't know. I don't know if they can get in or not. We don't even know what her army looks like, but just because they're after Daryl, I just feel like there needs to be a somewhat of an ending. They got away, but that's it. Right. So they may come to look for all of them, Laurent and all the people. And I just feel like, I could see Daryl staying, but at the same time, I understand his need to go home, to get home to family. Plus, we don't know everything else that has come up till then. He said, I made a promise, just like I made a promise to you to help you. I made a promise to them too. And thinking about all of this, and I'm sure we'll get into it toward the end when we do talk about the ending. He's known these people for how long? Yeah. And he's known his Walking Dead family for, over a decade. So there's a lot in that too. Yeah. So should he stay or should he go? I think he should stay for a bit and then go home. I think, unless everybody comes there. I don't know. Gosh. So friends out there, we would love to know what you think, because I know that people have varied answers on this. You have to, because you have like, Daryl, get your butt home. That's where you belong. Or like, no, this little boy needs you. You need to be here. Or maybe reasons we haven't even thought of. So friends out there, please, we would love to know. And you can reach us on social media, and you can get to all of those at screensandfocus.com, our website, because we want to know what you think. Okay. So also I want to talk a little bit about the news from the New York Comic-Con. And so one of the big, huge things is that, yes, it's confirmed that Carol is coming back for season 2. And Renee, do you want to share more about that and other news that came out of that?
Yeah, sure. So I was like, it's about time they announced her. They've been showing, people had showed pictures of her on the film sites for months and months, it's like, just say it already, and that kind of thing. And even Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he posted, he's like, see guys, don't you feel bad now for calling, Norman all these names, blah, blah, blah. So that was pretty funny.
I saw that too from him.
Yeah. Good that he's got
it's like they all knew, right? But they can't say anything. Right. So they all know some information, and it's like,
And Norman Reedus and I believe Gimple and Nicotero had all said, and Melissa McBride, that her story's not done. And regardless of whether that, didn't necessarily mean in the Daryl Dixon series, but it was like, she's got this personal stuff she needs to deal with right now. The woman's been filming for 12 years. Give her a break. It's just, this isn't Norman Reedus' decision. This wasn't, whatever. But anyway, it's just silly how everybody gets all worked up. But she's back, so that's good. But one thing, though, when I watched the Daryl Dixon finale and I saw that scene, I was like, oh my gosh, what if that's all she filmed and doesn't come back for season 2? Because I'd watched it before they had made the announcement. And I was like, oh no, the fandom will lose it if that was all we see of Carol. So I was very glad, because I think I watched it Monday and then Thursday they announced that Carol. I'm like, woo! So yeah, that was a good announcement. So that's exciting. And then that will be coming in 2024. They, of course, don't have a date, but they've been filming. It was just maybe a month or two after they wrapped season 1. They began filming season 2, or filming season 2. So, and then, of course, had to take a break in there and things because of the strikes and stuff. But anyway, yeah. So exciting news about Daryl Dixon's season 2. Then we also I'm sorry to interrupt you. No. They also talked about how they got the special permission. And I had seen that come out too, because people aren't supposed to be acting or promoting
getting or jobs or promoting. Yes.
Yeah. That was the nice thing too, that during this, since they got those special permissions throughout the Daryl Dixon 6 episodes, the cast was able to promote it, which, they can't do unless they have those special permissions. So it really helped the series to have all the actors, it was so neat on Instagram just to see all of them background actors and everybody just sharing. They're so excited about this project. They're part of the Walking Dead universe now. And what a neat thing. And so it was great that they were able to promote it as well. So, but anyway, so then they moved on to, or I don't know what order they all announced it, but the Ones Who Live finally announced that Pollyanna McIntosh will return as Jadis, which we all, again, people leaked photos of her filming, and she had also posted, her Instagram was real cryptic. She's like, I'm headed back to the States to do a project. And then it snowed in New Jersey. And then she has a picture of like an American flag in snow. And I'm like, interesting. So, Jadis is a huge, she's a huge part of Rick's story. And we got to see her, and if people have not watched Walking Dead World Beyond, you really need to check at least the second season out and find out more about what her story. There's some important pieces in there that I think will play going forward into the Ones Who Live. So check that out. And then Terry O'Quinn was announced for sure as Major General Beale, which is he's a villain. He's going to be a baddie. So that's exciting to have him in the Walking Dead universe. Yeah. And then Matt Jeffers will play a character named Nat, but we no details were given. And that series will premiere in February 2024, so not too much longer. So excited.
Yes. So excited when I saw that and I saw the trailer.
Yes.
Just hearing Rick's voice.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, because the last one was just red. I don't know that. Did we even hear anything with the Michonne one? Maybe she did talk. I can't remember now. They showed a little one earlier, another teaser, but it was, I want to say it didn't really say much. But anyway, it was really good to hear Rick's voice and see him. And
I think we heard his voice in the finale.
Oh, no, I meant there was a teaser.
Walking Dead. Oh, no. But what I was going to say here, it wasn't just hearing his voice, but seeing him. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was a voiceover. It wasn't like he was speaking. Yeah. We saw him. But there was something about seeing the images of him and his voice both together.
Yeah.
So it's like it feels so real.
Yeah, right. It does. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. So yeah. So we've got exciting things. And then of course we have Fear the Walking Dead coming on Sunday. There's 6 episodes, so I'll run through November. I think 19th is the finale, I believe, somewhere around there. And
6 episodes, right?
Yeah.
6 episodes?
Yeah, because it was a 12 episode season. And so I have been able to preview the first 2 episodes, and I am impressed. And I don't say that often about Fear the Walking Dead. So yeah, so I hope fans tune in and find out what happens.
Yes. And we'll be back to cover it. Renee has said she will join me. So look for those in the coming weeks. We all love the Walking Dead universe. So anytime we get to talk about it, we are thrilled.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to this finale Daryl Dixon, season 1, episode 6, Coming Home. So much happened in this episode, and we don't want to miss anything. So we're going to dive into this episode in somewhat of a chronological order, which is a little different than what we normally do. But I just didn't want to miss anything because I really felt like so much happened in each scene that we got to see and got to experience. And I just thought everything was so important. Loved every ounce of it. On social media, when I say something, I say I loved every single minute of this. And I'm not kidding because it was perfect to me. So here we go, Renee. So it does start off with an opening scene of D-Day. And when I saw that, I'm like, how does this fit in? I don't understand. I didn't even realize for sure that it was D-Day at first. I just knew it looked like war. And then I kept saying, are these people torn apart? Or did zombies get to them? No, they're shot. And it was quick and my mind is reeling. So I really wasn't even sure what I was seeing at first. So what did you think of that opening scene?
Well, I thought it was, interesting. Like you said, like we're trying to figure out, put this together, what's happening, and since it's set in France, of course, you kind of think of D-Day and that, because you're like, okay, wait, is this what's happening? But it was very disorienting at first, but I thought it was really neat, later when we find out why. Yeah. And I just loved how they put that together and what it meant. And it kind of goes back. I think, didn't last week you ask a question about it? And I'd already watched episode. So I was trying, I was like, she probably thought, what a goof she just said. Because I can't remember what I said. It was very vague. And you're probably like, what? But I didn't want to say anything and give anything away.
We're going to talk about that when we get to that scene. But because I'm like, what does this mean? This is God. You were very good, Renee. You said, oh, you're right. They wouldn't have just put that in there. So I'm sure we'll see something, or I don't know what it was. Something like that.
So I'm glad I didn't give away because that's always my worry. But anyway, I really liked it. When like you said, it was kind of like, okay, what's happening here? But then when we find out why, which we will talk about. But I thought it was very interesting to include it.
Yes. Yeah. And you quickly forget about it, really, because then we get to the arena battle, and this resumes where we left off, and Daryl's in this situation to fight these super walkers, and it's all gladiator style, and Quinn is soon introduced, and we see Madame Janae on her throne, just being as ruthless as ever. Oh my gosh, that woman. So what did you think about this whole fight battle scene?
I was so excited. Like when I rewatched the previous episode, like on Monday, then I had to immediately watch because I try not to watch them too soon because I do these podcasts. I don't want to give stuff away, but I couldn't wait. So I went ahead and watched it right away just to find out what happened. Yeah. I was like, this is everything I could have hoped this would have been. And then things I didn't even, of course, think of, but I love just seeing Daryl be Daryl and fight and do those things that we know he's capable of, and, he showed them that he's not anyone to mess with for that, because they don't know who this guy is, and so they're quickly learning that. And then I liked how, you're seeing Laurent and Isabelle watching, and then she's praying, and Laurent is like, oh, don't worry. The first fight, he's like, oh yeah, don't worry. He's going to win, whatever. And then then the next one, you're like, oh, he's praying now. Like that was kind of interesting, that was like, oh, this is a fine, and then almost like he didn't expect it or whatever. One thing that came to mind with this was I thought of the Suicide King with Merle and Daryl in the governor's arena. And it reminded me of that, right? I was like, oh my gosh, this is like Merle and Daryl. Yeah. So I thought that was fun to add Quinn into that because again, we're still like I've said, I don't know how many times I've said he's such an enigma because you kind of think, oh yeah, he is nice. And oh no, he's not, and all that. So it was interesting that him and Daryl could set aside whatever they got going on to, battle these things that are trying to kill them and stuff. Right. And I thought it was just, I loved it. I just thought it was wonderful. And especially at the end when Daryl, wings that head up there, I just thought that was cool. It's like, he just had to get that one last dig into her,
Yes.
So I thought it was outstanding. Yeah.
I completely agree. And this is how it's starting out, right? So I know what I think, what are they going to do next? What's going to happen? Where's this going to go? But yes, so agree with all of that. I also said out loud to my husband, I said, this reminds me of The Governor, what he did and with Merle and everything. Although that was a little more of a, Merle went in it as, putting on a show when they were doing it. More, this is more like gladiator-like. It's like fight to the death. And oh my gosh, to see all these walkers be injected and see them transform, and one of them, their head blows up, and also had Janae thinking she has a handle on this and looking at that doctor researcher guy, whatever he is, that is handling all this. And he's a little bit scared too. He's all, we got another one. Because he doesn't want, to be offed by Janae. Yeah. So
he's trying to put on a show and he's got it all messed up.
Exactly. And oh man, when I said she's ruthless, the look on her face when she is watching, she's just all smiling and happy, and then she's like worried. I'm like, yeah, you don't know Daryl, woman. You just don't, because he is his badass self. He knows how to handle himself. He's so good. And what I love about Daryl or watching this whole sequence, it felt like Daryl. Like they didn't make him Superman. They just made him able to figure out his surroundings and figure out what to use to get out of this. And man, he's been out in the world doing this for a lot of years. So he knows how to handle himself. It was just amazing. And when he took the very first walker, when he took that flag and stuck it in him, it reminded me, the second time I watched it, it reminded me of that famous scene of when they stick the flag, the Marines stick the flag in. I don't know. Did that come across to you at all? When they
And Twitter, everybody, several people on Twitter. Yeah, they did.
See, I didn't even know that. I didn't read it anywhere, see it. I just thought that. So it was just so amazing.
It was,
that they did that he does that, and it reminds us of other things. So I just thought that was really cool. And also, just the way when Quinn came out, and then they thought they had to fight each other for a minute, right? Because they're like, oh, we got to kill each other now. Yeah. And then it's like, wait. And then the spotlights come on all those walkers. And you're like, holy crap. And then that was when Laurent did his praying. And you're like, oh no, Laurent is praying. Oh no. Laurent knows all. And if he's just praying.
He doesn't know the outcome of this. Yeah. So.
I'm like, no. But I was still scared, even though we know Daryl is going to survive. But it's still scary because you don't know what's going to happen. I keep thinking he's going to get grabbed, something. I mean, you just don't know. And then with Quinn too. And the thing is, I thought to myself, okay, Quinn, oh, look, Quinn's helping Daryl and they're doing this together and they're choking that one out and decapitating it, which was a really cool thing. I can't even imagine how long this took to film this, really. I just can't. But then I thought to myself, if Quinn doesn't help him and Daryl doesn't help Quinn, then they both are on the out. So they have to work together for themselves, because otherwise you got to carry this dead weight around, if you don't both make it out or both survive somehow. So I just thought it was such a good way to start this finale. It was so well done. And they were chanting Dixon. I love that. And then that's when he takes the head and throws it up. And I'm like, I just love all of this. This is such a good opening scene.
Yeah, it was a fabulous way to begin the finale.
Yeah. Oh, when he was facing Quinn too, I loved it when he said, I ain't going to die in here. And I'm like, oh, that's a statement. He's not going to die. So we know that's happening for sure. So that was kind of cool.
I was thinking about your comment about him, with his survival, this episode, especially because we learn more about his family, but we got to remember Daryl has always been a survivor, he always had to fend for himself. And, it's just amazing how, they put that into his character, from his childhood, he's had to figure things out like this, not necessarily, life or death like this maybe, but other things, but I love how, it's just part of him.
Yeah. It is. I kept thinking, how is he going to escape a super walker? That was really my fear. I can see him escaping a bunch of regular walkers, but I didn't know what these super walkers were capable of. And so that part scared me. But, and I was also afraid, and they did burn him. You saw where he kind of made a sound. Yeah, because he was burned. But, man. That was, a lot of intensity, anxiety, but really good, in a way. And
very good.
Yeah. And then, like we said, the head being thrown up was such a good way to end that. All right. So then that leads into their escape because I'm sorry, I always forget their name. Is it the Community of Hope or?
Union of Hope.
Union of Hope. That's what it is. Union of Hope. You know, I knew they were going to play a part. I just wasn't sure when. And then that's when they come in and they're able to assist, and then everybody goes scattering. Yeah. And so Daryl and Quinn are able to escape in those tunnel areas. And we see Quinn make a sacrifice, and we also see Laurent facing a challenging decision. Also with Daryl, Isabelle, and Laurent, we also see their relationship continue to grow. So what did you think about all of that we saw?
Well, I thought that, Quinn making his sacrifice, I thought that kind of helped understand him a little more. That I think he really does love Isabelle. He just is weird about how he shows it, I guess. He just always has to be in control. He always has to be, so he's maybe not the best person to be with, but I think he truly, by doing that, he's Laurent's biological father, but there's no connection there. It's not like he's doing that necessarily for his kid kind of thing. I mean, some, I suppose, but it's for her. And I just felt that showed that he did, that he loved her, and stuff. And so it was, I thought that was really interesting. And then, when Laurent has to decide what to do when he's attacking, when his, walker is attacking Isabelle, I love how Daryl knew what he was struggling with. It wasn't, I have to try to do this. I don't know how to do this. It was, he was struggling with what will God think of him for doing this? And Daryl knew that. And he reassured him, he didn't give him, he knew what advice he needed, that God will forgive you. The situation is very different, that kind of thing. And so I just thought it was really intuitive of Daryl to know what Laurent needed to hear, and that it wasn't just, I've never killed a walker kind of thing. It wasn't that. He was struggling with a much higher kind of inner turmoil kind of thing. So I thought it was really great that Daryl and him have just got that connection, and it's just neat to see.
It is. I know. And earlier before let's start with Quinn and Daryl when they are running, and then we see that Daryl notices Quinn's back, knows he's bit. Yeah. And Quinn tries to brush it off. And then that's when he tells her about how much he wanted a second chance with Isabelle, but he just keeps screwing it up. And Daryl says something to the effect of like, well, you're using your kid to get her back. I don't know that that's the best way to handle this, buddy. But, he does seem very remorseful. And, to his credit in this, he could have still not wanted his arm to be cut off. He could have not wanted Daryl to escape. He could have said, well, I can survive longer. I mean, who comes to terms with, okay, you're going to cut my arm off now within a few seconds, right? Okay, cut my arm off. I'm good with it. Yeah. That's a hard thing to have even though you might know you're going to die, and yes, you're going to save the people you love, it's still a hard moment to go through. I can't even imagine what it's like to put your arm out and know that someone's going to chop it off voluntarily. I just think that's tough. That's tough, man. So, and I wondered, because we had talked about, well, will Quinn survive? Will he not survive? And, I wondered if he would or wouldn't. Now, of course, we do know, but I did feel a little bit of, just a tiny bit sorry for him. But I'm glad that he was able to do it protecting some people. Yeah. So, So I thought that was pretty good. Also, when Janae had put Isabelle and Laurent in that cell, and then Laurent tries to fight back, and Isabelle's, what are you doing? And he says, well, I'm doing what I think Daryl would do. And I just thought, oh, man. And you keep seeing that a little bit throughout this, because there's another moment also that it's later on when they're driving in that car. Where he says some things to Isabelle, and I believe he was saying what Daryl has said to him before. Sometimes you got to do something that, you don't want to do, but you have to do it, and God will forgive you. So anyway, so we definitely see the influence of Daryl on Laurent. Yeah. And for him to have to kill his father too. And kill a person. But I love it that we learn later that he says that wasn't my father anymore. That wasn't a man anymore. And I love that he recognizes that, because some kids don't, Lizzie. Some kids don't.
They're looking at you.
Or it takes a while for them to realize it. So I love that about Laurent too. So I thought that was pretty good. There is a reunion and a capture. They're off in the car. The car breaks down, and Isabelle and Daryl have this revealing conversation right before they're captured by Cadron and Janae's men. And I actually really loved this whole sequence. And one, because I love the interaction between Isabelle and Daryl. I thought a lot was revealed here. And yes, my question is answered from last week that we were talking about Daryl's grandfather, because I didn't know who he was talking about when he was talking to Aslan. I said, what is he talking about? People, are fighting a cause and fighting a war, but it's not really, they don't even know what they're fighting for. And it affects their children and their grandchildren. And I didn't understand who that was directed to. I thought for a minute, does he mean Rick? Does he mean himself? What does it all mean? But he was actually talking about his grandfather, because his grandfather leaving his wife, who was pregnant, and going off to war, he felt he probably needed to do that, because this is World War II. There is a draft, but I also know that there was a way for some men that were married or had children to not go off to battle. And maybe that was the circumstance here. I don't know.
Didn't he say he enlisted? So I mean, I think he
maybe.
I could be wrong. We should go back and check that. But I believe Daryl said that my grandfather enlisted and left his pregnant wife.
Yeah.
So it was a voluntary thing.
Yeah. But so many, I know it seems hard, and it's interesting that Daryl feels so emotional and so steadfast in this feeling that he has, because you would think it's, oh, my grandfather, what a hero. He went and fought for our country. But that's not how Daryl sees it at all. So, of course, we don't know the type of man he was. Maybe it was explained to him, and we don't still know all the factors, but it really had an impact on Daryl's parents. And, I guess it would be his dad, right? Because he was Dixon. So I just thought that was so interesting. And I also loved when Isabelle confessed to Daryl about the picture, although I was slightly let down, because I'm like, I loved that. I thought that Laurent had this ability that he could see Daryl even though he didn't know him yet. And to know that wasn't true, I'm like, oh, okay. That's not what that's not what I wanted to know. And I also, when she told Daryl, when I first met you, I was afraid of you. And he kind of looks at her, kind of smirks. And I love that smirk that he gives her. But he's basically like, huh, me to you, but, there's just something about the exchange, something about their chemistry together. There's just a lot there. There's a lot there. And that's another reason he can't leave yet, because I don't know. This relationship needs to be explored just a little bit more. But in this exchange, Isabelle, when Cadron comes, because he's fixing the car and then he doesn't hear Isabelle anymore, and he gets out, and of course Cadron has all the men there, and she gets stabbed. And it's funny, when I saw the trailer and I saw Daryl with his hand up, I thought, this doesn't seem like Daryl. Daryl doesn't seem like a person that would plead to somebody.
Yeah.
But then when you see the whole scene, it's because he doesn't want any of this happening to any of the Laurent or Isabelle or Sylvie. And he's all, take me, I'll come with you. And they're all, it's too late for that. We're going to kill you all. And then of course, Cadron is faced with, here, you got to kill the boy. And he has, who he is comes out, the type of person he comes out, right? Because he can't do it. He's not going to kill a kid. And I'll want to get your feedback on what you think that means for him. Yeah. So all of that was just I just loved all of that. So tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It was just one of those, it wasn't a terribly long scene, but there was a lot that went on, and a very informative scene also. We learned about Cadron, we learned about, some back history of Daryl that we didn't know. And, then, of course, Isabelle confesses the things and that, about Daryl and stuff. But I thought I just still think it's fascinating that Daryl opens up to her like he does.
Yeah.
Because we've said before, even with Carol, and we've said too, I think she just kind of knows him well enough to know most of what's going on with him. But she doesn't know the details like that, but he rarely shares those with Carol,
Yeah.
And it's just a different relationship. It's not to say that he doesn't care for Carol or they're not best friends, I think it's not to diminish what they have. It's just a very different kind of thing. And I still am not convinced it's real romantic. It kind of looks like that, but at the same time, I feel like Daryl, Leah did a number on him, and he's probably very cautious. Like, man, the one time I put myself out there, I get crapped on,
And Sylvie asks him, have you ever been in love? And he doesn't answer.
Yeah.
And I thought, ooh, that's interesting. But they've talked about Daryl and relationships and how they never bring that up, right? And we don't know because he's not in the comic book. So it's however people decide to write his character as to what he feels. And but you see him have different relationships because for a long time, people wanted him and Carol to get together. For a long time. Now, to me, it's like, okay, it's too late now. That ship has sailed. They are friends. They are definitely friends. But there was Leah, and then there was maybe Connie.
Yeah.
Right? And now it's maybe Isabelle. There's all these what is going to happen?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's just interesting how he opens up to her, and regardless of what's going to happen between the characters, I love that he found someone that he can talk to like that, because that's not a thing he does. He's the lone wolf. He doesn't do these things, And so, I really enjoy hearing him talk, and of course it's fascinating to hear more about the Dixon family, because we don't know a lot. There aren't, he's the last one of his family as far as he knows, and so it's
ooh.
Interesting to see what.
No. You're like, he's the last one. Well,
but, and to see him think that, his grandfather influenced his, he just kind of went, his grandfather to his dad, to him, to him and Merle, and how, so it's just a fascinating, and to see how that does affect over generations and things, and I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting. And I was very disappointed when Isabelle said that the drawing was, she told him to draw that. I was like, oh, come on, And so that was, And then, Cadron, I was very interested with this because he is ruthless. But like you said, it kind of shows his character that he wasn't willing to kill a child. But then I also wonder, was there something more? Is he seeing something in Laurent? He knows what they all believe. And so is he starting to just see these things? And he hears a lot of stories as he's searching for this boy. And he hears Janae talking about this special boy. So I was like, is there more to it? Maybe not. But it was just a thought that I had. I was like, did he see something in his eyes? Did he see something?
Right.
That Laurent says volumes with his eyes, when he doesn't need to speak a lot. So I just was like, wow, I wonder if there was something, other than just, I can't kill a kid. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yes, Laurent, his facial expressions. And when he said that, because he said, God loves you. And I thought, oh man, it probably did get to him because again, we don't know their backstory, right? So we don't know Cadrone's backstory, but I do want to bring up, he had a brother, he loved his brother, and he was avenging his brother's death. So to me, the fact that you are after somebody because of your brother means that you're capable of love and hurt. And to me, and we had talked about this when we talked about villains, because I said the thing that was with Negan was that, he cared about kids and all of that. So I just feel like when there's a villain that really cares, has a family member or has somebody that they really care about, you just see that humanity in them, right? They really care about somebody. So I think that knowing that about Cadrone means he has feelings and he can change. And he doesn't want to kill a kid, just like he didn't want anyone killing his brother. And Daryl didn't even kill his brother. And I just realized we never saw that gal again.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
from the beginning in episode 1, which I thought we would.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I wonder why Daryl said, "Who's your brother?" I didn't kill him. It wasn't me. You're after the wrong dude, buddy. But it's interesting to learn more about Cadrone too. And I love that we learn more about him, that he's seems like such a great villain, and that he's hiding things from Janae for them too. And that fact that he tells them, burn the vehicle because that will track, you'll get tracked to it. I'm like, ooh, you're really trying to help them now, buddy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think that was what it was too, that made me think that there was more to it than just, that not wanting to kill the kid or, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with him, or if she just beats him up. I don't know. We'll see.
I read somewhere that he'll be he probably beats him up for sure, right? Because they want to know where the nest is.
Yeah, she said, yeah.
But he is going to survive, because that was the other thing. I'm like, why did he go back to her? Why did you go back if you knew?
The only thing I could think of is to throw her off their trail, because he is he obviously is doing a little bit of protecting of them. So did he go back to make maybe he's going to try to throw them off? Does he know where the nest is?
Yes.
Because he does
says
know.
it.
Yes.
When
he said that. He does. Yes, I remember now.
That pocket watch.
That's right. He saw the picture.
Yeah.
Okay. So he does. So I feel like maybe he's trying to just throw them off the trail a little. I don't know, because he's just all of a sudden has a different he's just doing different things than we expected. So it's hard to know why,
Well, I kept thinking, how is Daryl going to get out of this one when somebody has a gun right on you, unless somebody comes from somewhere else, like Carol?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. that would have been a great moment, right? But
can you imagine?
We would have loved it and eaten it all up.
The fandom would have exploded.
Yeah, but then some people would have been all like, yeah, exactly. How'd you know where they were at and everything else? But hey, you never know.
Got a map.
Yeah, Carol can figure it out. She's a good tracker. Daryl taught her well. Exactly. All right. So they make it to the nest. And we see this warm welcome from the nest community, who view Laurent as the Messiah, and Daryl's interactions and the central conflict regarding his decision to return home or stay are highlighted in this episode. And I just want to say again, the music and the cinematography is like the best I have ever seen on anything. It is just magnificent. I want to go to France. I love this. I can't believe they were able to get permission to film here. I know it's something Michel. Do you know the name of it by chance?
Mont Saint Michel.
Mont Saint Michel?
It's Mont and then Saint and then Michel. Yeah.
Love this place.
Yes. Yeah. We've seen little pictures of it to see it really have the camera really focus on it and things. It was just unreal. And yeah, it was. I loved seeing the nest. But we finally got to the nest. Yeah, I thought, well, maybe we won't get there this season, and so wasn't quite sure. But yeah, it was such a neat community, and I love how Daryl's like, that's not what I imagined. I imagined Amish people in butter churns and hats. So I thought that was not an idea I had in my head, but I love that that was where he went. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, and the music, it was like there was that one scene. There was just this little music playing and these birds was just out there flying around. And I was like, it was just it's like these just dumb birds, but it was so beautiful. And the music, the score behind it was just, it was just brilliant. So I cannot, both of us have gushed about the filming and the music and everything. And even my husband, who he's not like a huge Walking Dead fan, mostly watches it because of me or whatever, he has said how much he's enjoyed this thing, how he's just like, this series is really good. And Dead City, he kind of lost interest in things, where this one, he's just like, can't wait to watch the next episode. So it's fun to see these people who, and a lot of us, I mean, personally, I was not sure what this was going to be. And I was like, this was the series I was the least excited about, spinoff that I was the least excited about. And it's so far, it's just been phenomenal.
It is. It has been phenomenal. Love it.
Yeah. So getting to see the nest was just amazing and very different than what I thought. We saw the picture and I knew what the place looked like, but I didn't know what the community would be like. So it was very fun to see, Daryl training everyone and their meals and, just doing day-to-day tasks and, just that kind of stuff. That was just really fun. And him and Laurent kind of playing around, being goofy and just, letting him be a kid, and then, we do, get to the conflict and thing. And, I don't know, Isabelle should know never to pressure a man, and that's not the way to get him to do, that was a kind of a, low blow where she was trying to guilt him. And I think that was because he's not Laurent's dad, that wasn't even, and he says that this is not what this is, he is tells her that. So, what was the guy,
the song? Yes.
I loved how the things he said, the things that he was saying to him and stuff about, your home. I can't remember exactly whatever, but it was just it was very interesting for him to say that. And then Daryl just kind of looks at him like, what are you talking about? Don't mess up. I'm going home. Don't give me ideas. Don't put ideas in my head. But anyways, I thought the nest was just fascinating to see it all finally after we've been hearing about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was amazing. I loved it. I did love how Lasong, we were introduced to him. I loved him right off. Like the way he was, the way he talked, the way he looked, everything. I love that he's from New Jersey. And,
that was interesting. Yeah.
That was very cool. And, just their conversations, and he seems to, he seems to be perfect for this. And like you said, when he talked to Daryl about staying, he says, we keep our promises. We have a boat for you. And, but, there's so many people here that would love for you to stay, and we would love for you to stay. And Daryl says the Pouvet isn't his fight. And like what you were saying, he says, Lasong says, maybe the fight isn't what you're torn about. Sometimes when someone leaves home, they come to find they belong somewhere else.
That was
don't tell him that. He's not staying. But I will tell you, I didn't want him to stay. Like, I feel like he should stay longer, but I really don't want him to stay. I want him to get back to Carol or get back to, his family, his friends, even though these people are so important to him. So I just feel like he's not done yet, though. I really, truly feel that he's not done yet. And also, like you were saying, the conversation between Isabelle and him. Well, I want to step back just a moment. And there were those moments again that we see them all sitting around the table and him cheering, putting up his glass and her putting up her glass. And then later on, he's peeling potatoes and he glances at her. I'm like, why are they showing this? There's a lot of this happening. Yeah. And because Daryl's got that eye out. So I'm like, Daryl. And so, I'm like, what's going to happen? What's he doing? But it still hasn't changed his mind. It's not like he's saying, oh, I feel this way, so I'm going to stay. It's like, no, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I really did. Oh, and then he comes and helps her with her wound when she has when she has her shoulder out. And that scar actually looked pretty good. I thought, ooh, just, of course, if you can make zombies, of course you're going to make a scar look pretty good.
Yeah.
Just the conversations that they have. And you're right about how Daryl opens up to people that he wouldn't have. And she does too. I mean, who's to say she opens up this way to other people also? I don't know, but I really do love their conversations together. And, but the conversation in that room when she says, "Are you just going to leave? I heard what's happening." And she kind of gives him that guilt trip, and I didn't like it. I'm like, don't you give Daryl a guilt trip. He's not his father, and he's not abandoning him. He's keeping, it's just the way he kept his promise to you. He's keeping his promise here. And he explains that. And I love that Daryl gets a little bit like pushback, like, hey, don't tell me this. And this is what I'm doing. And I'm doing it because that's what I need to do. But I thought that also added to all this, right? Because if he's like, oh, hugs or goodbye and I'm leaving now, then okay, that's fine. But no, I like that they have this because she does care about him and she doesn't want him to leave. I mean, she cares about Laurent, 100%, and she wants what's best for him. But I can't help but thinking part of her wants Daryl to stay too, right? Not just for Laurent, for herself too. So, but she does tell him, "I'm glad that we met," and then leaves. But I just felt like that didn't feel like an ending. If Daryl really got on a boat and took off and didn't see her again, I'm like, that didn't feel like a really good goodbye. So I was like, this is not the end between them for now. So, and when they were all walking up, when they greeted them all and they start walking up to the living area. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine how long it must take to get up there? It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The music, but I thought, wow, they're going to have to trek a long way to get all the way up to the top, which was very, very cool.
Yeah.
So then the farewells and the predicament. So Daryl leaves the nest with a heavy heart after his conversation with Isabelle. And we see him on his journey to the ship, and we see him confront his past, and the complications arise when Laurent unexpectedly shows up at the end, adding a new layer of complexity to his departure. But his journey alone was fascinating. So tell me what you thought about his journey.
Well, I'm going to mention the cinematography because I was like, what are they doing? This is like, all he's doing is walking through, but it was so emotional. I'm like, there, that one scene with the sun coming through, and I was like, what is happening? It was just beautiful and emotional because you knew he was leaving, and he's, he's, again, bittersweet because he's leaving them, but he's, heading home. But the cinematography was outstanding. I was really sad he didn't say a proper goodbye to Laurent. That was, like you said, like, if that was the end, are you kidding me, Daryl? You can't just leave this little boy. So I was like, uh-oh. But
leaving that Rubik's Cube meant at least with Laurent. I mean, yes, I really wanted him to have a conversation with him. I just feel like you should say goodbye, but maybe he couldn't face it. Yeah. But I do appreciate that he left the Rubik's Cube to say, I was here.
Yeah, I did say goodbye kind of thing. Yeah. And, I think Daryl's good for Laurent, and I think Laurent's good for Daryl. But Daryl, the whole time he's made his mission clear. I'm helping you guys and I'm going home. There's never been a waiver to that. That's he says that. He's like, this has always been the plan. Yeah. And we've mentioned how he just seems so determined. And now that we see the conversation, or we heard the conversation with Carol where it got cut off, he's like, something's up. And he just feels that he needs to help with whatever the heck's going on back there, right. And those are, because like you said, it's been over a decade. That's his family, and he's never had a family prior to that. Not a real family. He had Merle, and his abusive dad, and then his absent mom, and so these are his family, and so you just don't leave that easily, And then when he goes to the gravesite, I thought that was so cool to add that in for him to see that tattered American flag, and he goes over and he looks, and it was, just one of those things, he got very emotional thinking of his family and what could have been probably, or what, lots of things going through his mind. But, I've said it, I know others have said it, but when Daryl cries, we all cry, so we just get teary eyed and all, emotional about this man he never met, but it definitely impacted him, So yeah, I thought that was really cool to add that scene in. And then just another cool with him killing the walkers, and he's whipping that thing around, and he's just getting them all. And it's always fun to watch, Daryl kill walkers, and he sees the boat and they flash him, and then all of a sudden we hear his name being yelled, and he looks up there, and I just thought, look at him. He's so proud that he was able to follow him. You could tell he was like, I did it, Daryl. I used my skills you taught me. It was just, his expression was amazing.
It was amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just all of that. His trek there was gorgeous. I thought the same thing as he walked through different terrains, different areas. It was just so beautiful. The music was playing. So what I really love too is you see all this, right? And yes, it's the emotional part at the gravesite. That part just killed me. Really, really, truly did. And I was right there with Daryl looking at all the graves. Like, is this what he's going to do here? But I love that we have this certain type of music playing, and Daryl sees the boat, and then he hears Laurent call him Daryl, because he says Daryl's name a little different. And then you hear the music. It changes. It's a totally different song, different tempo. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like perfect. And it was like the perfect song, because you have Daryl, like, I'm finally here. He waves at the boat's coming. He's like, I'm going home. And then he hears the name, and he turns around and looks, and it's like, I'm not going home. I'm not going. I know that's what he's saying. I'm not going home yet. I've got to let that boat pass. That boat's going to pass, and I'm going to miss it. Because is he going to just leave Laurent there? He's not going to leave Laurent there. Yeah. He has to get him back to the nest again, right? He's not just going to leave this kid there. So, and then the walkers. Okay, this is a funny moment, but I laughed both times when Daryl was killing the walkers. One walker went rolling down the hill, and you see his feet like flip up in the back. I was dying both times. I laughed out loud. I'm like, that is hilarious. These walkers,
that was pretty funny. Head over heels.
Yeah.
Quick before I forget. So you talked about the song choice being so great. I was like, why did they choose this song? It is about like someone getting their hands on nuclear material, basically they wrote, it's U2, it's Seconds by U2. So it's talking about nuclear, like how easily people can get items to make a nuclear bomb, and like a suitcase bomb, I think they said.
Wow.
So I was like, and I was like, I didn't understand what this song, had to do with anything. I liked how, like you said, the tempo and stuff when it first started. Then I heard that, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't think this song is what they think it's about. And so I thought it was an odd choice. I mean, I liked the tempo, like you said, and I know the goodbye or, whatever, but the rest of it didn't fit with this. So I thought it was an odd choice.
That's so funny. Yeah, I didn't know the words. But I felt like it really fit. So now I'm going to have to go back myself and go check it out. But you know how good and how particular they are. So they know whatever that was, and they still wanted to use it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure in other shows too, but I know like even The Walking Dead, even like the earlier seasons, they always had the best songs.
I know.
Music.
Gosh,
it was because they give you this feeling. The songs give you a feeling of what is happening in that episode, and just being on a journey with these people. So I think that's why all the music has been so perfect. And, that music segues into that last scene, which is actually perfect too. So maybe it's meant more for Carol, where we see Carol and her scene, because it fit so well. And you see this motorcycle, you're back in the USA, and you see this car behind it. And I'm like, Carol's in there. But I didn't know if she was on the motorcycle. I didn't know if she was on the car.
Right. Until I found out, like, where's she at? Because the booth, didn't really look, like that big man, So I was like, oh, is she riding the bike,
Yeah. And so I'm like, ooh, where's she going to show up? We knew it. And, of course, Carol ends up being in the car and stepping out and saying she's searching for her friend. So, but the music just segueing into that whole part.
Yeah.
And all of us seeing Carol. And then, of course, we know this is when Daryl was in Maine, correct? And then that's where she's heading to, right? Isn't she in Freeport?
Right. At this point, he's off the boat. I mean,
no. But where he was last. Yes.
Yeah. Because Freeport, Maine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, that's where she's at. And he said, because he told her that I'm on the coast of Maine. Yeah. But he said, I'm on the coast of Maine, but I'll be back in a week. And when we heard that in one of the early trailers, I was like, he did not come back on that week. And where she went. She went looking for him because Daryl always said, like if he says that, that's what happens, And so that was interesting to, see her like, this is, and the guy who played that man was in Mayans MC. Because I know you like that.
Yes,
so the guy that played the operator, I didn't know if you know who he was.
I didn't write off, although, I mean, he looks like a biker, right? With this.
Yeah. His name's Paul Zeiss, Zies Ryder. That's his actor name. And then in Mayans MC, I don't know if he was in 2 episodes. He played Hicks. So I don't know. I'm sure you.
Yeah, I can't recall him. I mean,
but I just know you like that.
I love that series. Anybody, please go watch it. It's so good. I love it. But the seasons were so widespread sometimes. And I never went back and rewatched, which I would love to do, actually. I should go do it where I could watch them back to back and see because sometimes you see it and then I know I want to watch the next one. The next one comes on, but I hadn't seen the last season in a while. So, so I don't recall him particularly.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought that was interesting because I know you're a fan of that too.
I am. So what are your thoughts about Carol?
I mean, I just love that, she I just love how badass she is. She just stands up to this giant guy like it's nothing. She's just like, get in the truck. She's just get in there and I'll be back for you. If he's not there,
And he's all, oh shit.
This little tiny woman's getting him, So I just, it's just fun to see Carol back in action and I'm excited to see what happens. And I'm, just excited for see what happens next.
I know. So exciting. All right. So before we get to our favorite quote, character, or moment, were there any other thoughts that you had?
Just Janae, I'm still like something like she's like a ticking time bomb. I think something, is going to happen with her. And I was like, man, I'd love to see her and Carol, some kind of showdown between those two. That would be exciting. And, with the title, so the title for the second season will be The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol, which I think is freaking awesome. I love that so much. And just from the little teaser that they showed, I think we're going to see quite a bit of her in America getting, it looks like we're going to see a lot of that. So I wonder if they'll do I don't know what they're going to do with all that. So it'll be interesting to see how they tell this, if they do it in flashbacks like they've done with Daryl, or if we're going to see her journey and then they reunite or something. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they do it.
I wondered the same because most of what we see tends to be, although it does look like she's in, or they do show Daryl and Isabelle somewhere and Laurent. They almost look like they're hiding out from a fight or something. So, but what I'm hoping is I really do want to see how Carol gets there. So I want to see that, but I hope they don't dedicate like a majority of the episodes to that because I do want to see them in France. I do want to see her get to them. And I do want to see Daryl, Isabelle, and Laurent too. So it just makes me curious because I'm glad that it's called The Book of Carol, but how much of it's going to be Carol too?
Yeah. So, well, because they put like, the guy, I can't think of his Eric. I don't know. I don't even want to butcher his name, but the guy who plays Fayou, they, bump him up to like series regulars. All of the people in France have been like, advanced to the next level on the, what I mean? Like they're going to be back in season 2. So they'll, I feel like maybe we're going to see like maybe some of her and then we'll see some of Daryl and we'll see that. And then we'll see them come together, something like that. Yeah. But it definitely looks like we're going to see a lot of her, which is cool because I know there is supposed to be some sort of a scene in Maine in the second season because that one main newspaper had announced that they requested newspapers from before and stuff like that. So it'll be fun to see how, like, then they said in a flashback scene, but that's all the information that they had. So anyway, it'll be fun to see how they do it. I'm sure it'll be creative and it'll be wonderful and we're going to love it. So basically just excited to see Carol and Janae, just worried what that's going to, what's going to happen with her, how she's going to handle things.
That woman, yeah. Man, she is, like I said, she's ruthless. She doesn't seem to have a soft spot, although, we did see that Laurent said, "Oh, you're broken," or "Your heart is broken," not "you're broken." Your heart is broken.
That affected her. Yeah.
So I don't know, but man, she just could care less about these people. She just, what I found was not interesting, but just adding to it is how she tells him that every time we allow Laurent or Isabelle or any of those people to live, it makes them stronger. And we don't want them to be stronger because it makes us weaker. And we need to be stronger because we are fighting the fight. We are fighting for our future. And we're doing things that people don't want to do, but we have to do it. I'm like, come on. That's I know so many people say that, but it's like, it's just a way for you to get by on feeling not bad about everything that you're doing. You're thinking you're doing it for the future, but you're really not really. Cause
that's just your excuse to be able to do whatever you want.
It is. It absolutely is. So, I read some article about her, how she was saying, when she says she worked at the museum and she could tell the eyes that were lying from the eyes that weren't. And someone said, how could she tell that from a painting?
Yeah.
I don't know, Janae. But of course, Cadrone at that part comes clean because he knows, oh man, she knows that I'm lying. So she knows that I killed her guys. So. I don't know. Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens to her. Yes, I'm excited to see Carol and there's so much. Okay. So we are at our segment and the award goes to. So Renee, what was your favorite quote, character, or moment?
I have to say the arena fight. I just thought it was outstanding. I thought it was a great way to start the finale because it was, I thought episode 5 was the best episode of the series or season. I loved it. And so to, be on that high from that one to go right. Ooh, baby, just kept you right up with that. I thought it was just a great way. And it was just fun to watch Quinn and Daryl work together, which, you never thought you'd see that kind of thing. Cause initially we thought it was going to be the two of them against each other, and so, but yeah, just like, once again, we just are reminded what a badass Daryl Dixon is. And so I just thought that was outstanding. I know.
Yes, it is outstanding. And anytime we get to see Daryl Dixon be a badass, that's like a win. It's just, I just love it so much. This whole episode I love so much, and I already said that I found every minute of it so good. Like there wasn't a wasted minute that I said, "Oh, they should have cut that out." It was like, no, like everything was beautiful, everything was gorgeous, everything was, intensities. The gladiator battle scene was so amazing. We've never seen anything like that before. But I think for me, and I always tend to go to the emotional parts, but the part where Daryl actually goes to the gravesite, I cried, and I cried both times he went there, both times that I saw it, because I think for me, one, it's seeing Daryl. And he's at a place that his grandfather once was. He never knew his grandfather, but here he was on the same beach. And that has to take so much, have so much emotion being there, just knowing my grandfather stood right here. Even though I never met him, we are on the same beach. And what are the odds of that? How is it that I found his gravesite? And also, I personally, every time, I think I've said this before, I'm not a huge war movie watcher, but when I have watched them, I really am just so moved by them.
Yeah.
So moved by them because they are true. They are our history. People have died for this country and their countries and other countries and for their rights and so much more. And so something moves me when I know someone is fighting for their country. It's like you're fighting for something more than just yourself. You know, the fact that his grandfather did die there and whether Daryl understands why he left or not, the man still died for his country and he's, you know, he has this gravesite there. So it moved me. And like you had mentioned earlier, how it tied to the beginning of the scene and how we didn't know it when we saw it, but the fact that it did, that someone put this at the beginning and put it at the end and then in the middle with Daryl talking about his grandfather, how all these things tied together. I love it. I love it when something like this happens. I just appreciate those moments. It is the best storytelling. It is, I don't know. I think this is my favorite episode. They all are really, but this one it had so many fascinating parts about it and I loved it.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, friends out there, what was your favorite moment from this episode? There were so many. We would love to know. So please share them with us on social media. Again, you can get there to all the social media at screensinfocus.com. Yeah, we just want to know. And we're also excited for the next season and all the other Walking Dead universe spinoffs. I can't wait. So, man, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. All right. We're transitioning now. That was the Walking Dead universe. We're segueing into our TV and movie recommendations. Have you watched anything that you want to recommend?
Well, I watched The Fall of the House of Usher, but I'm not impressed. It's just not, I like horror. I love horror. But sometimes to me, it's just weird to be weird. And I understand this is Edgar Allan Poe. I understand all that. I really like Mike Flanagan stuff. Like all the other things I've watched, I've absolutely loved. You know, the Hill House, Bly Manor, and then what was the other one? On the island,
Midnight Hour or Midnight. Oh, but I love the one on the island. Actually, that was a cool one. What is that? Midnight Mass. Midnight Mass.
Yes, thank you. I was like, what the heck was it called? But I loved all three of those. I loved them.
I did too.
But this one, I'm just, we watched 2 or 3 episodes. I don't remember how we watched, but it's just not for me. So I mean, it's not really a recommendation. It's just disappointed. I'm just sad. But I'm sure the next thing he makes will be wonderful. But yeah, this one's just not quite for me. And then again, going through our horror movies for October, we watched Scream 4, which has always been my least favorite of the franchise. But I had read a friend's review, like they ranked them, and I put this one way higher than I would have, you know, and I was like, but then I read why. It's like, oh, so I watched it with a new appreciation, and I did enjoy it this time.
I love that, though, right?
Yeah, and Nico Tortorella of World Beyond is in that. He's in that movie, so it's always fun. He's young. He's got such a baby face in this movie. But but it is fun when you get to revisit something like that. Especially, I mean, I love the Scream movies, love them, but that one just, I don't know. And so now that I've read someone else's point of view, I had a better appreciation of it.
I love that when we can learn from other people. And, you know, a lot of times before I watch a movie, or if I'm in the middle, I do this is bad. If I'm in the middle of watching a movie, or I know something's supposed to be really good, I go and read about it. Not like, I don't read spoilers, but I read about it, like what it took, what it meant, why, because it adds to it. And so I always do that. And even after I've watched a movie or TV show, it doesn't matter which TV show or movie. I mean, if I appreciated it at all, if it was something I didn't like at all, I may not. But if I like it at all, it's my automatic. I go and look online to see what other people thought, what did the ending really mean? And it just adds this so much to what I'm watching, and it makes me appreciate everything so much more. So I can see, you know, reading that person's article and then rewatching it with a new, you know, watching it with a new perspective. So I think that that's great. Now, I'm also watching The Fall of the House of Usher, but I haven't watched that many. I wanted to bring it up because I did start it. I wanted to get further into it than I did because I too love Mike Flanagan and I love everything he's done. They're so incredibly good, but I haven't gotten that far. Yeah. And so Oh gosh, I hope I don't feel like you do.
I'm sure you won't. I'm very weird about things. Like, I don't know. There's just like
Hey, I don't
American
know.
Horror Story. I don't know. Like American Horror Story. I don't like that at all.
I don't
And I
either.
know
I don't either.
because that's what I told. Kind of reminds me of that kind of whatever. So I don't know. So hopefully you do. I hope. Yeah. I hope you like it.
We will see. Well, we'll see. I've only seen 1.5 episodes. So that's
Okay.
how far I am in. And I'm interested to know. I'm like, oh, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been watching and I've been talking about Love is Blind. And on last Friday, they dumped the last of the episodes. So we saw who got married and who didn't. There was a finale. I mean, not a finale, a reunion on Sunday. I haven't watched it because I've been so busy with The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, and, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you know what we didn't talk about? And I'm sorry I'm bringing this up right now because we both I think we both watched it. The show afterwards where they showed the making of the Daryl Dixon.
I did not watch that, but I knew it was on, but I did not.
Okay. So I did watch it. It was very cool. Something that I did learn for me, they decide to make all this, and we know that all the executive producers are so many different people, Norman Reedus and Greg Nicotero and Angela Kang and just all these different people, right? And, but they did ask for Daryl and Carol's feedback on so much of what the show was going to be. And I love that. I love that it was a lot of their input on the direction they were going to go. And I love that they talk about that. They also talked about, and this I really loved, and Greg Nicotero talked a lot about this. He said that the people that were the walkers or the actors or even the directors or anybody working on set that lives there, it is a fresh take. Like they are invigorated. They are inspired by these people because it's new to them. It's almost as if like in America, it's like, okay, we're going to do this again and you're going to be this walker and you do this. But they're like children. They're like excited. They're like, The Walking Dead is here. We're going to do this. And there's this new boost of whatever it is, adrenaline, inspiration that I think the show needed and got from being in another country. So, and we had talked a little bit about Daryl learning from people in this other country, but not just Daryl, but also the actual people, Norman and Greg and the director and the showrunner and everybody just learning from these other people and being influenced by these other people. So I thought that was so good in learning about all of that. And of course they do talk about Carol and everybody else. So everybody should check that out. It is an hour long. So it's an hour after the Daryl Dixon show. And I just thought that there was a lot of great information.
Is it on AMC Plus, or I wonder, I guess I don't even know where it's
even on AMC. My actual, I recorded on my DVR. The Walking Dead was recorded for the whole length of time. So it didn't even separate out that it was two different shows. It just kept recording. And so it was like a show. So I'm sure you could get to it on AMC or AMC Plus, I'm sure. So I spent my time watching that rather than watching Love is Blind, the reunion, which I have to go back and watch it. But yeah, it's been interesting. And of course, all my reality shows, The Voice, Survivor, Dancing with the Stars, I love it all. It's a great relief for me. And it's just entertainment. So I appreciate that. I also wanted to let everybody know that, I celebrated the Hispanic Heritage Month with putting out 10 movies that people could watch to celebrate it. But now that it's over, you can still check out these movies. They're great movies. And I do have them on a blog at screensinfocus.com. So if you are interested, please go. There's 10 fantastic movies that I have recommended there and want to share with all of you. And also, on my blog, there's a lot of other recommendations. I have a lot of TV and movie recommendations. So if you're ever stumped, go there. Also, I want to remind people to follow Renee at Undead. Where do you want them to follow you at? I do have a link, and I always have a link in my show notes. But Is there anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, Undead Walking is where I write, so that you can. I mostly post on Twitter for that, and then my personal social media is kind of difficult, but it's Iowa Mama of the number 3. That's all my on all of my social media. So I think you link that. So yeah, but yeah, Undead Walking. That's where all my writing is, and so yeah.
So go check that out because. I subscribe to Renee and I get her emails and I love it because there's several articles and they're short reads. They're not super lengthy. You can get through them. They've got great information. And so, I highly recommend people check that out. So,
because if you sign up for the if you go to undeadwalking.com, go under the About, I think is where you can sign up for that newsletter. Not only, it's Walking Dead, but you'll also get Fansided has lots and lots of sites, and some of those other sites also cover some of the Walking Dead. So you get different insight from these other writers as well. So it's kind of nice to get that newsletter because then you get more than just, hearing me and everything I say all the time.
Which is great. So that's okay. All right. Well, Renee, I told you previous to this that I appreciate you so much because I love talking about anything The Walking Dead, and you are so knowledgeable, so insightful, so fun, have, great thoughts. And so I'm just so thankful that you are here with me. You've been here with me each week and that you will continue to be with me as long as we can keep it going with fear and hopefully even the ones who live. That would be amazing. Yes. So,
and I appreciate you asking me because like I shared earlier also that I just love talking to someone who's as passionate about the Walking Dead universe as I am. It's always fun to find someone as excited because not everybody is. Some people are just like, are you kidding me? And you're just like, yes, I get it. So yes, I do. I just appreciate you inviting me on. I look forward to our conversations every time.
Yay. Well, thank you. Thank you. And you're welcome. Both. Yeah. All right. And friends out there, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are so grateful that you come back each week to, spend time with us. And we hope something that we said resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, or inspiration. Please remember to subscribe to our website at screensinfocus.com and tell a friend because we would love more members of our TV club. You can find our website listed in our show notes. I want to remind you to keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus. And we will see you next time. Bye. Bye.